The U.S. has sent tens of billions of dollars worth of military equipment to Ukraine as multiple conflicts in other parts of the world are escalating. How is this impacting American military readiness? We're joined by an international military strategist who tells us that his concern is not with the preparedness of U.S. military service members, but rather with the politics of their leadership. Darren Gaaub, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks, Tiffany. Always good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
To begin, with this new war in the Middle East, the U.S. is still sending aid and arms to Ukraine. Now, the Pentagon has been warning Congress recently it's low on funds to resupply weapons in the States. Now, foreign policy experts are warning there could be a potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan. How ready is the U.S. military resources?
Well, Tiffany, I think resource-wise, materially, there are certainly some challenges that need to be investigated, mostly on the munitions side, because that's what we've been sending a lot of. And we've got lines of manufacturing that are inactive right now. There are some funding concerns in there, but I would say that the money is there in the overall budget. We spend plenty of money. We could actually prioritize this along with things like our southern border to do what we need to do. My biggest concern, though, right now when it comes to the military and its readiness is the chain of command that starts in the White House. The readiness and the ability to actually engage in a conflict and be able to be the leadership that this nation needs to win in such a conflict, should we choose to engage in it, doesn't exist. And so that is my greatest fear. Most of the people in the military will do their job, will do their mission, and they'll want to do it the best they can. But right now, they're not adequately led to give me any confidence.
I want to get to that, but on the point of munitions, how does the U.S. replenish that? You mentioned funding, but is there also manufacturing concerns? How fast can the U.S. replenish its supplies?
Well, some of the concerns I've heard is that in order to replace everything we've sent over already will take 10 to 12 years if we started right now. You can cut that significantly, but not only through the funding stream, but also by reactivating lines of manufacture that are not being used right now. That is a significant concern. If you look at, let's just say you've got a manufacturer able to make 155 millimeter artillery shells, and they've got two main lines of manufacturing. Well, they may have two others that are there to be used, but they're just not running due to material to supply to it, employees to run it, and the entire supply chain behind it. That's the problem. So we can wrap it up if we have the willpower we need to do it. The question will again come down to that willpower.
And on the note of willpower, what's your understanding of the U.S. military readiness if we are called into a shooting war?
Generally, I'm concerned about it, but not fearful of it, because the American soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine have shown throughout history their ability to adapt to any environment and overcome even the greatest odds. And sometimes it takes a while to get there, but that's just the reality of history. And I'm very confident in the majority of our military forces and their willingness to win on a battlefield if called upon to do so. Like I said, though, I am concerned about the political will, and some of that political will is in uniform too, wearing a lot of stars that just aren't ready for something like this and are not right for the job.
And historically, the Chinese Communist Party has said it wants the U.S. engaged in 4 overseas wars, one of which has to be a terror group. What's your understanding of what we're seeing right now unfolding?
Well, and again, this for those of us who work in the foreign policy and strategy arena and have for years, we watch these things develop over time. We provide the best warning we possibly can of the scenarios that will likely develop. And for the last few years, specifically, we were able to see Afghanistan, and then we cautioned about the fact that Ukraine would probably blow up next, and then we talked about something was going to happen in the Middle East. And so far, I mean, sadly, and unfortunately, we're batting 1,000 within the people that I work with. So right now we're looking at, okay, does China start leaning in further on Taiwan? And there's a lot of reasons why they might do that. There are valid reasons why they might not and are not ready to do it. But it's one of those things that we should be looking at, because the only way for China to look at Taiwan and not worry about America specifically is to keep us busy elsewhere.
And what must the U.S. do now to ensure we don't see that kind of escalation?
Well, first of all, I'd like to remind Americans that the declaration of war on any foreign nation or entity belongs to the Congress, not to the president. And so those discussions need to happen with the representatives of we the American people, and we own the risk and we own the decision on whether or not we want to engage in a conflict. That is not the right and duty of a president. The president's job is to command the forces when told to do so by the Congress. That's the first thing we have to do. And second of all is to make sure that we secure our homeland first. Our southern border, we know, wide open. What does that mean? We don't know who's here in the United States. But it also means that if we can build a community defense group and just be there and be prepared if needed, and hopefully never are, then do that. But we got to start here at home, and then we can worry elsewhere.
Darren, Gaaub, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tiffany. Have a good night.